Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to Strictly Sports with Jacob Browne. We are here today on a Tuesday. We've been off for a few weeks. We apologize for that, but we are back today for a mega show, joined as always by Mr. CJ Ure, and today with Stephen Cashin. And we're going to have a special guest today. Sawyer Stultz is going to come by later in the show to talk a little basketball. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now in terms of the NFL. We're just going to get right into it here. There's always the Tom Brady rumors. We saw this weekend at the Syracuse basketball game. He was sitting next to Julian Edelman. Edelman says to the TV broadcast, "Hey, guys, he's coming back." And Brady kind of gave I don't even know how to describe the look. It was a very skeptical, quizzical look to Julian Edelman. Kind of looked like he didn't completely agree with that assessment. And I look at it this way. We've said it a few times on this show. Tom Brady is the GOAT. We understand that. But he's not at the level that he used to be, and he needs players to surround him. He doesn't have that in New England right now. And he also wants to prove it that he can win without Bill Belichick. And those are two really big things that are associated with Tom Brady right now. And to me, I personally think right now he's going to leave. Part of me still feels he's messing with people right now. He's messing with people's heads, trying to get in everyone's heads. But I really do think he goes. I think the Los Angeles Chargers would probably be the best destination for him. People have thrown out the Raiders. No way. There's no way he's going to Vegas. No way he's playing for John Gruden. That would be a train wreck in waiting. You also have the Tennessee Titans. I think that would be a good choice, but they have 28 free agents, Derrick Henry being one of them. They have to pay him, then they'd have to pay Brady, which means they wouldn't be able to retain a lot of their players. I like Mike Vrabel. He's a solid coach. He built a good culture, but I just don't see it sustaining itself if you're losing that many free agents, and then you have to give a bunch of money to Derrick Henry and Tom Brady. I understand. There's also the Dallas Cowboys situation. Now, that would be a perfect fit, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Dak ultimately ends up back with them. So I look at it this way. It's between New England and it's between the Chargers. I think he's actually going to go to L.A. They need someone to fill seats in that stadium. We've been saying it for weeks. We thought maybe it'd be Cam Newton. No, the Panthers said they're keeping him as their starting quarterback. Whether that's true or not, it kind of doesn't seem like they're going to trade him anyways. You can also look at, okay, maybe the Chargers sign Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he goes to a place maybe like Chicago, Tampa Bay, somewhere like that. I don't think he really fits with the Chargers. I think Tom Brady is going to be a Los Angeles Charger in a few weeks when free agency starts. And the funny thing is that the entire league is waiting for what Brady does. When Brady signs, the rest of the dominoes are going to fall. So the entire league is waiting for what Brady's going to do. He's just messing with people. I do think he's going to go to the Chargers. We'll hand it off to you, CJ. Where do you think he's going to
go? I agree with a lot of the media notion that Tom Brady wants to do it without Bill Belichick, which I can't blame the guy. I don't think he pays attention to what anyone has to say about him on social media or in the media. The guy's got 6 rings. But the fact that people will say he's a system quarterback or all these dumb jokes and whatnot. I mean, I feel like the guy wouldn't mind being able to do it without Bill Belichick. Maybe that's not a Super Bowl ring, but to get to the playoffs and get a team like the Chargers or the Raiders or God only knows who to round 2, round 3, and show everyone that they can do it, that he can do it without Bill. So I personally think him and the Chargers would be a match made in heaven. Way more weapons out there. There's a lot of great defenders there, too. I mean, I know that the Patriots defense this year was just incredible through the first 9 to 10 games.
Yeah, I'm not going to write off New England's entire roster. I'm just saying offensive tools, he doesn't have it.
Oh, the offense is brutal. I mean, you take Tom Brady off that offense, it might be one of the bottom 5 worst offenses in the league. Maybe worst offense in the league on paper.
Yeah, it showed in that first round matchup. Yeah. I mean, they scored, 10 points?
Yeah.
If that?
The Miami Dolphins have a better on-paper offensive roster, just off the fact that they have Devontae Parker, and the Miami Dolphins are a dumpster fire. So I think it'd be amazing if Tom Brady were to actually go to the Chargers. I would love to see him in a different uniform, and I'd love to see him, kind of show
you don't think it takes away from his legacy?
What was that?
You don't think it takes away from his legacy a little bit?
No.
He's done everything that he's wanted to do in his career. He's proven he can win. He's won 6 Super Bowls. There's nothing left to prove. He wants to go do it himself now, like CJ just said.
If you look back on Michael Jordan's career, he played for the Washington Wizards. Does anyone care that he played for the Washington Wizards?
No.
Absolutely not. So it's the same thing with Tom Brady. If Tom Brady were to go play 1 or 2 years with the LA Chargers and make the playoffs back-to-back years or be solid there, I think it only adds to his legacy, in my opinion. The guy's in his 40s. At that point, he'll be like 43, 42, 44 years old, in that range, and he's making the playoffs, and he's going to a new scenery without his trusty head coach. I think it adds to his legacy. I don't think he needs to win anything crazy. I don't think he needs to prove anyone wrong in that aspect, but it would be nice to see him in a new uniform and still winning somewhere else at his age.
Absolutely, and talking about quarterbacks, there's been a lot of rumors about quarterbacks in this draft. Is Joe Burrow, does he even want to play for the Cincinnati Bengals? Now, I'll just discuss that rumor real quick. I think, listen, nobody really wants to play with the Bengals right now. I do think they have a lot of offensive talent, though. Joe Mixon, they have a bunch of receivers. But other than that, they need to build the team, obviously. That's why they have the number 1 pick. I don't think he pulls an Eli Manning. There's no way. Not in today's world. That can happen 15 years ago with Eli Manning. It's not going to happen now with Joe Burrow. I think, honestly, it doesn't make a difference who goes to Cincinnati, whether it's Tua or Burrow. It's going to be a bright future either way. I think the Bengals shouldn't be worrying about this right now. It's not like if you get Tua, you'd be upset. Some argue that Tua is better than Burrow. I don't know about that personally. I think that, we talked to Greg Cosell on my show, and he said, Tua's going to have to be a precision passer in the NFL if he wants to succeed. I don't necessarily know if he's going to do that for sure. I'm not going to say he can't do it, but I don't know if he can be for sure. But I look at it this way. Joe Burrow is going to go to the Bengals, and then I think the real linchpin in this draft is the Miami Dolphins. Be a Matt Ryan type of quarterback, they'll be fine with that. But if you have the chance to get a generational quarterback, you need to take it. And I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to trade their assets to get Tua. CJ, you're a Dolphins fan. What is your perspective on it?
I look back at a few of their wins, like, for instance, the Philadelphia Eagles win. Cowboys. Not that the Dolphins have any vendetta against the Philadelphia Eagles here, but when you look at it, it would have been nice for the Finns to be 3-13 right now. And say have like the 3rd pick, because the 3rd pick, you don't need to trade, because say the Redskins want to make this whole smokescreen. Anyway, I think Chase Young is the clear best player in the draft, just all around football standpoint, and a guy that's going to come in your locker room and in your team in a starting spot and make a clear contribute. This guy could easily be a Pro Bowler next year. That's how good he is. So I don't think the Redskins even trade out of 2. So if the Dolphins could have been at the 3 pick, yeah, a couple of those wins are pointless. But I really hope that they don't have to give away any of their first round assets. I understand
they're going to have to
give away. Yeah, they're going to have to if they want to move up, but I think that Stephen Ross and the Dolphins have played this really well so far. That whole thing was Sun Sentinel saying the Dolphins didn't have a great meeting with Tua. It's all smokescreen. It's just what you'll see for anyone that's a Dolphins fan listening. What you're going to see is whenever one team comes up with something like a smokescreen, like the Lions and the Redskins, not really the Giants at the moment. Just because we know that Daniel Jones and the Giants, they're going on with that,
and they're in a very interesting spot. We'll get to that.
Yeah, there's small question marks over the Redskins and the Lions in terms of quarterback, right? So these two teams are going to send out a few smoke screens as the draft approaches, so that the Dolphins, who everybody knows at 5, might need to trade up. The Dolphins every single time will send out a new smoke screen. So. Smokescreen number 1. Oh, we love Justin Herbert. We've done the most work on Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert might be our guy, right?
Yeah.
That was smokescreen number 1, which was right after the Lions were going to look at Tua. Smokescreen number 2, after Ron Rivera says we're going to meet with all the quarterbacks and we're going to look at Tua and we're going to look at blah 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 and we're going to make a decision. Next thing you know, Sun Sentinel releases an article. The Dolphins and Tua didn't have a very good meeting. His family still wants to live in Miami, but they might have given Tua the cold shoulder. These are strategic moves, and if you actually follow them, every single time a team will come out and say that I like Tua or I like Herbert or whatever it is, you will see a following report the following day, which is the Dolphins don't like either of them. And this is all an attempt so the Dolphins don't have to trade up. It's actually really interesting, and it's cool how these front offices are playing this. But let's be real here. The Lions and the Redskins aren't drafting a quarterback.
No.
The Lions have Stafford, and the Lions drafted a quarterback, or the Redskins
And I am
drafted a
so
quarterback
tired
last
of
year.
the people who are just demeaning Stafford now. This dude's been a top 10 quarterback for the last decade. Please stop demeaning Matthew Stafford.
He's on a really bad team too. I mean,
He's on a really bad team. He's never
the
had a
guy
defense.
throws enough touchdowns to give yourself a chance to win. Throws for enough yards. He's in a perfect spot to lead that team to the playoffs. Win some games, but he's got nothing around him. They need to build a defense. That defense can't stop anyone.
Yeah.
And if you can't keep teams off the board, you're not going to win football games in the NFL.
And at
Plain
that
and simple.
point,
And Aaron Rodgers has been in the division.
Yeah.
yeah, at that point, they're saying Isaiah Simmons is the next best thing in that draft. The guy's a freak show on defense. He can play the linebacker, D end. It's like the perfect Swiss Army knife that the Lions need to revamp that defense and give Stafford a guy who can make the big time plays down the stretch. So see what happens. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
there's going to be a trade.
Well, yeah, and we talked about it a few days ago on text, CJ. I mean, the Giants really aren't in that great of a spot, even though they think they are. That 4 pick is really not that valuable. Teams are going to be going for the 3 pick, for sure. I mean, the Giants really don't have any leverage. I personally think, as a Giants fan, they should trade back. I'm of the mindset, get 2 or 3 really good players, or 3 or 4 really good players instead of 1 amazing player. This team needs to revamp that defense. It's horrendous. They don't have anything on that. They don't have a secondary. They don't have a D-line. They don't have anything on that defense. Now, the Giants have, like the Dolphins do, a very large cap space. They can pay for corners. They can pay for a corner. They can pay for an O-lineman. They don't need the 4 pick. I'd rather them go out, get 2 or 3 good players, some late first-rounders, early seconds, and you could build a defense like that. That's what the Colts did. That's how they got their line. They have great linebackers. They have great corners. They have great safeties. They have a great O-line. The Colts built in the draft because they kept trading back. And I think that's what the Giants need to do. They tried signing Nate Solder to the offensive line at left tackle, most expensive contract ever at left tackle, and he's been horrible with the Giants. So I think it's better to stock up on players instead of getting 1 amazing player. That's just my mindset. But is Gettleman smart enough to do that? Number 1, and number 2, is he even going to be able to do that? Who's going to want the 4 pick? Everyone's going to be gunning for that 3 pick, and again, I don't know if the Lions trade out of it. Maybe they have the same mindset that the Giants do. We'd rather get 2 or 3 really good defensive players than just Isaiah Simmons. We don't really know. But again, those first 2 picks are locked up. They're not going anywhere. Chase Young's definitely going to the Redskins. I completely agree with you, CJ. Dwayne Haskins is good enough to try out. First of all, the Redskins' offensive line was the worst in the league last year. You cannot expect Dwayne Haskins, especially since he didn't start the year as the starting quarterback, to just walk in and revitalize that team. The team was horrendous. Dwayne Haskins has a big arm. He's mobile. Now he has Ron Rivera on his side. Ron Rivera knows how to coach mobile big quarterbacks like Cam Newton. I'd say the Redskins stick with Dwayne. I agree with you, CJ. It's a smokescreen. So I look at it this way. If the Dolphins end up with Herbert, it is a mistake. It's a blown season. It's great to build culture, okay? But you don't need an extra 2 wins to build culture. If you had lost by a field goal, that's building culture enough. That's telling you don't give up. You're in it to the end. You lost, but hey, you would have had the 3 pick and you wouldn't have had to give up your assets. So again, it's never good to tell your team, okay, let's go out there and lose today, boys. But at the same time, maybe they should have lost a few of those games.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. Back to the Giants, the 4th pick there, really quick, just to wrap up the draft talk. I actually think it's a little bit more valuable than we are giving it credit. It's not valuable for a quarterback hungry team. If you're a quarterback hungry team, and if you need a quarterback, the goal is to land a Burrow or a Tua. Herbert is the tier 3 option, right?
Yeah.
So Burrow's going off the board, number 1. 99% sure, right? Unless he pulls an Eli Manning. And at
It's
that
not
point,
gonna-
if he
it's
doesn't,
not
it's
gonna
100%
happen.
positive he's going to go to the Cincinnati Bengals. Ohio kid, whatever. At that point, it's Tua. Tua doesn't slip past 3 at that point.
No.
So the Giants can trade back with a team that highly covets the next best thing, or a team that absolutely loves this DN that's on the board, or you never know the storylines. And if I'm a Giants fan, I'm sitting there and I'd be like, I would love to trade that 4 back to like the 8th or the 9th or the 10th pick, and literally get like a second rounder out of it.
You
Yes.
can load up on picks. Like you
Load
said,
up on a
get-
pick or
you
two.
get 2 or 3 more guys than getting one
And
superstar.
if I'm the Giants, I'm actually not going to draft a defender at that position. I'm drafting CD Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, whichever one's available.
I wouldn't go receiver. I don't know.
Dude,
You
those
need
two
more
guys
than
are
that.
legit,
Because you could
and-
pay for. They have 3 receivers right now.
That
They have
offense is
Sterling
good.
Shepard, they have Golden Tate, and they have Darius Slayton, and they
Not
have Evan
good
Ingram
enough.
at tight end.
Yeah, but then after once one of those guys gets hurt, imagine you add a Jerry Jeudy or a CD Lamb to a Daniel Jones who's already
And
thrown for like
Saquon
300 yards a
actually-
Yeah,
game.
but I mean that's when you add it to a team when they're one piece away. The Giants aren't one piece away.
But if they can get like a high second round pick out of, I don't know what. Anyway, regardless, that 4th pick can be used to trade back and get a pick. But it's not going to
Absolutely.
be with the Miami Dolphins. It's not going to be with
No.
a
No.
Jaguars. It's not going to be with the Raiders. It's not going to be with the Chargers. It's going to be a team like the Cardinals. It's going to be a team like, I don't even know, the Colts. Like in that bracket of teams that are desperately moving up because they see something so lethal at the 4. But that's all I got to say about the Giants.
So we should have led the show off with this. FAU baseball is playing Florida tonight. We're all going to the game. Usually I start off with FAU sports, but NFL was on my mind, and we just talked about it. So this is a humongous game. First of all, Steven and I called the Binghamton series and the FGCU game all wins. FAU was 7-0 going into the weekend, but they lost to Texas Tech and FSU, who are top 15 teams in the country. The lineup was great. They can hit. The starting pitching was fine. The bullpen was the problem. And so you're going into tonight. You're playing the number 1 team in the country, Florida. Okay, you can say it all you want. It's a neutral site. It's going to be probably 85% Florida fans.
It'll be a
Okay,
home
they
game for them,
travel.
yeah.
They're a national fan base. It's not just Florida. They travel. I'm worried about tonight a little bit, but I think it's realistic to say that in a 1-game scenario, emotions are high. You want to beat the number 1 team. FAU did it 2 years ago. They beat Florida.
Beat them last
Steven,
year, actually.
They
Yeah.
beat them last year
Yeah.
too, right?
At their place.
At their place. So how do you look at tonight? Because it's an early season game too, and that's something to incorporate too.
It's midweek too, so you're gonna get
Yeah.
their freshman, sophomore guy. But
Right,
if it
not their
doesn't go
number 1
well-
starter.
If
You
it doesn't
mean.
go
Right.
well early, they don't have to panic. You can wait and kind of feel them out, try to get into the game, get into a groove. But to beat Florida, you're gonna play the perfect game. You can't sit around waiting for things to happen, and you got to score. You got to get ahead a little bit early, and if no errors, if you do that, a team like Florida is just gonna eat you alive.
See, I'm worried for defense at third.
I mean, you talk about B.J. Murray, guy's been solid at the plate. I'll give him that.
So
hands
solid,
down.
switch hitter, fast as heck.
But we saw him. I mean, his arm over there at third is not great. He's Olayed some balls at third. That's what you worry about. I mean, that Florida team, they can hit 1 through 9, and they're gonna be hitting the ball down the line. And he's just got to buckle down and just limit the damage over there. But tonight the bullpen comes out and shows up, and the hitting's gonna be a constant all year. I mean, if they stick to their game plan, I think they can win this game. It might be a shootout. Could be 13-11. It could be 2-1. But we'll see in the first couple innings what happens. But I think FAU can find a way and somehow win this game tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, not just the starting lineup, but FAU's 3 or 4 guys deep on the bench with hitters.
We talked
So
about
this
the
team can
catching.
hit.
Yeah, you got Aruz, who's not your everyday catcher. Guys launching balls over here at FAU. He's hit the ball 420. I mean, left
Yeah.
field. I mean, it's insane.
And they put him at first base to get his bat in the lineup.
Exactly. They're trying to piece guys into the lineup some way, shape, or form, and try to find some consistency in that lineup. But going into tonight, this could be a huge win for them. You beat the number 1 team. Morale gets back up to where you want it to be after 3 tough losses. But we'll see. I'm confident.
Yeah, and also Miami, the number 7 team in the country, coming here tomorrow night to FAU baseball stadium. So it's a real home game, and we talk about that game too. It's another midweek game. You're not going to get their best starter. But the thing with Miami that differs from Florida, we're going there twice later in the season, and so we only get 1 home game. You got to win the home game because it's tough to go down to Miami and win 1 or 2. I mean, you can win 1 or 2, but you want to win the home game.
Yeah, and this team plays comfortable at home. They enjoy playing in their own place. They know the dimensions of the field. They know where they can hit the ball and get the gaps. And last year they won. They lost. I think it was 8 games at home. So they enjoy playing there. They don't like going. They don't like going far away from FAU. Numbers don't lie. But tomorrow's a game you really have to look to take. Going to Coral Gables in about a month to go play there twice in a weekend, it'll be tough to take games down there. So tomorrow you really have to shoot to win. Out of this whole stretch, that's the one you got to take.
Yeah, and we went into this. Anyway, but Mike Entenza is one of probably the better guys in the bullpen. But we were talking about it before the show. They've been grooming Mitchell Hartigan, the left fielder, as a closer, and it's nice to see against Binghamton. Right, he's got a nice mechanical delivery, but he kind of throws just a fastball. It looks like with maybe one breaking pitch, and he pitches to contact. That's dangerous against Florida to me.
Yeah, I mean he has the stuff to become a closer eventually, but he's got a fastball that's flat and a decent enough breaking ball. But tonight, if he comes in against Florida, it's a tie game, or you're up by 1 or 2 at the end of the ninth, like we said, just put your head down, hope that the ball gets hit to your players. Because being a contact pitcher, you can't be a closer and do that. A closer needs to be overpowering. You have to strike guys out.
That's why I'd say Entenza pitches the ninth tonight.
I think he has to. If he's available, you have to send him out there and be like, hey, I need you here. You got to ride your horse, and he's going to win you ball games this year, and you got to throw your best guy out there to beat the best.
Absolutely. So back to the NFL real quick. I just got an alert about a trade. The Jaguars just traded A.J. Bouye for a 4th-round pick to Denver. They just only a 4th-round pick?
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame it. I think Schefter just tweeted the amount of picks that they just stockpiled, and supposedly after his injuries and whatnot, he just wasn't the same guy.
But
I'll
a
tell you
4th
right
rounder?
now how many picks they now have, which is not a bad thing at all. They're trying to revamp here. What is it?
Yeah, but I mean, A.J. Bouye, he was used to be one of the top corners in the league, part of that shutdown secondary for Jacksonville. And, like CJ said, he's declined in play a little bit. And I'm trying to get in touch with JP Acosta here, who's a huge Jaguars fan. He'd have really great analysis on that. But, at the same time, it is good to stock up on picks. But I'm just saying, a 4th-rounder, you couldn't have gotten anything higher than that?
They have 10 draft picks in April, 6 in the top 4 rounds. And in 2021, they'll have 9 picks so far and 6 in the first 4 rounds. They've got double ones and double fours.
See, they could have a lot of fun in this draft. I mean, you talk about the Dolphins and, what they could do. Jacksonville could revamp their roster in one offseason. I mean, not revamp it in terms of a contender, but build for the future. So we're going to move on here to the NHL Trade Deadline, and we didn't get to cover the results of that. We previewed it 2 weeks ago, but last Monday, I think it was the deadline. We didn't have the Tuesday show, so we get to talk about it now. The New York Rangers listened to me, first of all. I said for weeks they needed to lock up Chris Kreider. He was intricate to the New York Rangers. They needed a big, fast, strong left winger. They have none in the system, and there's no free agents that are anything close to what Chris Kreider is. Not saying that Chris Kreider is one of the best players in the NHL, but for what the Rangers need, they need that power forward guy with speed, size, skill, and they kept that with Chris Kreider. 7 years, maybe a little bit too long. You're keeping him until 35. But the thing is, you're looking for a Stanley Cup. The New York Rangers have not won a Stanley Cup since 1994. They need to just win a Stanley Cup. They have about a 3 to 5 year window here. Kreider's going to be productive for the next 3 to 5 years. So I don't care what years 6 and 7 are. The cap hit's pretty good. And I also said the Rangers needed to trade Brady Shea. They shipped him out to Carolina. He was completely overrated. He was great in his first year, but over the years he kind of lacked in defensive ability. He kind of got soft on defense, stopped being offensively productive. He used to drive the zone. He doesn't do that at all anymore. So Carolina can take him. I don't really care. So Carolina, though, they made a bunch of trades, and they're kind of linked to the Florida Panthers, which CJ is going to rant about in a few seconds. But I look at it this way. Carolina got Vincent Trocheck. They got Brady Shea. They got Sami Vatanen. They might make the playoffs now. They also got Eric Haula, who's a pretty good player. Eric Haula went to Florida.
Yeah.
But they got Vincent Trocheck in Carolina. I think Carolina is going to make a surge into the playoffs. Columbus is going to slip. But were there any trade deadline moves, guys, that stood out to you? We'll start with you, Steven.
I liked what Carolina did. I mean, they were kind of idle all year. You just kind of teetering around that wild card range, and they still are. They'll most likely end up being the first wild card team, I think. But, you got Trocheck from the Panthers, who I think, new environment. He could, thrive there, and got rid of Paula. But I didn't really like that move there to get rid of him. He's a good, tough guy in the corners. But Carolina was the one that, it caught my eye. They just loaded up. They're trying to make the playoffs again, rebound off what, disappointing end to the playoffs last year. But other than that, the Lightning, too, I like the moves they made, obviously being Tampa homer, but
they did make a good move. Regardless.
You had a couple depth guys. You got Goodrow from the Sharks.
Not Johnny.
Yeah, that's when I first got the report. I thought it was that. But and they got Coleman from the Devils.
But I don't like the trade. But for this year's purposes, it's good. Yeah.
For this year, talking alone, I think those are great moves to try to get depth, make some damage happen in the playoffs. I like Coleman's play. He's a tough winger. He has a good shot, but. We'll see where it goes. After last year, I don't know what could happen down the road here.
Yeah. My favorite acquisition wasn't even on deadline day. I liked the Washington Capitals going out to get the defenseman Brendan Dillon.
Yeah.
What I had said on that show.
And they got Kovalchuk too.
Yeah. What I had said on that show was the championship caliber organizations. What they always do at the trade deadline is they'll ditch some draft picks, or they will ditch a forward or two to add to the back line, the back end. What do you like? I can't even remember the last NHL team that just scored their way to a Stanley Cup. I don't think it's ever been done. You need to have a defense that plays hard defense.
And goaltender. Goaltender's huge. You need to get a hot goalie.
A nasty defense. Or just, you don't even need to have a crazy hot goalie, a tier 1 goalie.
You just got to have guys that are going to be willing to block shots, get in front of those. Just move guys out of the way, sandpaper guys. That's what the St. Louis Blues did last year.
Exactly. Binnington came in the league as a rookie.
That's number one.
Yeah, and you got great play from Jordan Binnington there.
Yeah.
He saved that Game 7 for the Blues, but that defense, really, they got in front of him, and they kept those 1-goal games, kept him in it.
He played really well, but you got to understand, all those vets in that locker room got together, and they were like, this guy's coming up, and we're not going to feed him to the Wolves.
We're not going to give him a 40-shot,
We're going to play
outing.
We're going to play defense. We're going to clear the crease. We're going to get nasty. We're going to be ripping shots on the other end, keeping it in the zone, puck possession. That's a good locker room. That's a good team.
Yeah, and that Blues team was so cohesive. They were one of the worst teams in the NHL in January, and then they had an amazing – they got the new coach and just made a run. All right, guys, sorry for the technical difficulties there. We don't know what happened, but we are back here on FAU Radio, here with Strictly Sports. We don't know when it cut out or anything like that, but we were talking about the NHL Trade Deadline, and CJ was going on his Florida Panthers rant that he's been waiting to go on the entire show, so just keep going, CJ.
Yeah, so we have these, maybe the first now. I'm not going to count the Detroit Red Wings because they're tanking this season. But outside of the Red Wings, we are the worst defense in the league, giving up a unreal goal total. I can pull it up here. But at the trade deadline, the Panthers were about 1 game out of the playoffs.
2 points, they were 1 game right there.
2 points out of the playoffs, and they were coming up on a decisive game against the Toronto Maple Leafs at home, which the Maple Leafs were the team that was 2 points ahead of them. So here's what we do on the trade deadline. We trade away a well-loved player in the locker room, Vincent Trocheck, who I agree has not been the same, but he's a locker room guy. He's very good on the forecheck. We traded him away for a line 3 center at best, Eric Holla, who's now playing on line 2. And Walmark, who's a checking 4th liner and no defenseman, right? An AHL defender. It's just terrible business. Not only is it terrible business, but they let down the fans. This year they spent to the cap. They went out and got legendary coach Joe Quenneville, who's the 2nd all-time winningest coach in the league. And these guys still can't figure it out. So Keith Yandel, Mike Matheson, Anton Strawman, these guys are making unreal cash. Just unreal money. And you know what? They sit in front of the net like pylons. They don't even move out anyone. The fact that Milan Lucic can sit in front of the goal and score a sitter, that guy's washed. He's terrible. He's not a good hockey player anymore. He's out there to hit. He looked like an all-star on Sunday. We get blanked 3-0, and the game that we needed to win, we were up 3-1. And then guess what? We stopped playing. We stopped playing hockey. Okay? We're up 3-1. We end up losing 5-3. We're now 4 points out of the playoff spot, and then we have a back-to-back against Chicago and Calgary, in which we can get back to the point where we are 2 points out of a playoff spot. You know what we do? We lose both games. We lose to the Blackhawks. We lose to the Flames. Those are two teams that aren't even playoff teams right now.
Sunday's game was depressing to watch.
3-0. 3-0. You're going to sit here and tell me that you spent to the cap and all these players, they want to make the playoffs so bad. Some of these guys were crying last year when they're in the locker room. You know, when they didn't make the playoffs 2 years ago when they missed it by a point. And this is what you guys muster up here. A 3-0 loss to the Calgary Flames when it's on the line. Season's over if you don't win. Not even a goal. Seriously? It's horrendous. And the fact that Joel Quenneville can't even get these guys going is really scary. This guy is a tough coach. This guy is a guy who doesn't take any crap from the media. He doesn't take any crap from his players. And Keith Yandle is still out there screaming sonk, and he can't even figure out how to clear the crease. He doesn't lay the body. The fact that they haven't benched him is so upsetting. And you know why? Because they decide that an Ironman streak is more important than the team winning. If it were up to me, that guy would be playing in the AHL for 2 weeks. It's so ridiculous. Anton Stralman, he's making I don't even know how much money. It's like 3.5 a year, something like that.
For me, I would healthy scratch those guys.
Healthy scratch.
Send a message.
Guess
and then
what?
Bring an AHL guy up. Be like, listen, this is what's gonna happen.
The thing is they can't even trade Yandle. They can't even trade Mike Matheson.
Yeah, his cap hit's too
Imagine
much.
the cap hit, and imagine the fact that they actually signed these guys with no trade clauses in their contract. Who does this? Who? No one. These guys stink. They're terrible. They're not defenders. You know what? There was a game where we dressed 2 defenders as wingers.
Oh,
because they
boy.
were so bad at defense that we needed to find somewhere else to put them. Mike Matheson and Mark Pesic were literally playing wing.
It's terrible. It really is.
And you know how much money those guys are making? An absurd amount. No trade clauses. They can't clear the crease. And I am so upset that Dale Talon literally went to the media yesterday at the general manager's meetings. And you know what he said? He scapegoated Sergei Bobrovsky.
Guy can't save. You can't save 50 shots and expect your defense. Oh yeah.
Not even Patrick
It's-
Waugh
it's-
in his prime could have a winning record on this team, or a save percentage above
It's
900.
so unfair, and it doesn't make any sense to call out Sergei Bobrovsky when you give him a long-term deal with that money. That's the guy you decide to call out.
I mean, I get it. Like, he's had his ups and downs, but bro, I've watched enough of the Panthers this year. I've been to the games where, you face 40 shots, you're gonna give up 3 or 4 goals, and the defense is brutal in front of him. He has to make 8 breakaway saves in one game.
But how about the GM not just saying?
Just speak in the mic.
How about the GM not just saying, yeah, you know what, I neglected the defense in the offseason, and I thought getting a unreal caliber goalie is going to shore up the fact that he has forwards playing defense in front of him. And Joel Quenneville continues. He continues to pair Yandle and Matheson on the same line. The 2 most incompetent defenders on the team who care about offense more than anything else on the same line.
No, it's true. I mean, Yandle gets this rap for being a quarterback of the power play. He's not even offensively. He's fallen too.
He's weak
Outside,
on his stick.
I will tell you right now, I'll give him this. He's an exceptional passer. He's a very good passer.
Right, yes.
Outside of that, horrific player. Terrible. He breeds losers. He comes in the locker room and he's just, it's all, we're hitting the beach after this. We're doing this. We're doing that. We'll set up a tea time. I can't wait to get down to Cancun in the offseason. This guy is literally a cancer in the locker room. Alexander Barkov is he's not a vocal guy.
He wants to win more than anything.
Alexander Barkov wants to win. He has the C on his chest. He doesn't say a word.
He goes out there and shows it on the ice. He goes, hey, they were down 4-0 against the Flyers.
Right.
He goes, I'm going to will myself. And he gets 2 goals back. They end up losing the game, but still he's like, you know what, if I had to put the team on my back, I'm going to do it. That's the guy.
Yeah, Yandle doesn't hit anyone. He doesn't want to get himself in danger for his Ironman streak.
Barkov, he's a forward. He looks out for himself, but he'll go to the corner and
he doesn't hit. He doesn't lay the body.
Yeah.
He's not fiery enough. He doesn't even shoot the puck when he's supposed to. And then on top of that, when they lose 3-0, you expect the captain to go to the media and say, we sucked tonight. And this is unacceptable, and I apologize to the fans. You know what he said? I felt like we did some of the little things right, and, we got to get our game back together here. Season's not over. Horrendous.
Yeah, you don't say that.
So
No,
bad.
Not in a game like that.
I have been a Panthers fan since I was born. I've been going to games since I was born. Seriously, I've never once heard that many boos at a game. because the Panthers never really have to ever they never have to answer to the fans. And the fact that the
there's
fans
never that
are
expectation
fed up
to
with
win.
it and booing on a Sunday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, that's got to be a wake-up call. And the thing is Joel Quenneville, in my opinion, he's lost his touch. And this is why he was sent out of Chicago. He's a Hall of Fame coach, and he will be a Hall of Fame coach even if he screws it up in Florida, which so far he screwed it up. But holy cow, this is the most talented roster the Florida Panthers have ever had, and it's game in, game out that he still plays Yandel, he still plays Matheson, he still plays Ekblad, like God only knows who, and they don't clear the crease. How hard is it as a coach to go up to them, grab them by the collar in practice and say, you need to clear the crease or I am benching you in the next game. I need to see you really hit someone on the edge of the crease.
Yeah, well, I know.
And it doesn't happen. So it's either the players are like, I'm collecting my check and I'm out of here after this season, or Joel Quenneville is totally content with coming down here playing golf in his free time, collecting the biggest check out of coaches and saying, screw it, I don't need to be in the playoffs. And it's disrespectful. And it's disrespectful to Sergei Bobrovsky, too, for literally dragging his name through the media. Who is supposed to save 40 shots a night?
No, it's untenable. It's not
The Florida Panthers
realistic.
will not be in the playoffs again. And they are going to be leaving Sunrise very soon. The Dale Talon experiment's over. That guy needs to pack his bags and go. And I'll tell you right now, there's going to be some unreal changes. Jonathan Huberdeau probably won't be a Panther next year.
No, he's not. They're not going to be able to afford
Alexander
him. He's
Barkov,
gone.
he might not be a Panther very soon. They might strip this whole thing down. And I don't blame them. Because they got all these guys on terrible contracts. They drafted all of them, and they stink. There's 2 players on this team that are worth 3 that are worth your time. Mike Hoffman, Alexander Barkov, Jonathan Huberdeau, and then occasionally Sergei Bobrovsky. After that, these guys, all replaceable, and that's not good. That's my Panthers rant. This team sucks. They make me want to go and hit something, okay? And I'm upset, and that's it.
All right. Well, that was the CJ rant we were waiting for, guys, about the Florida Panthers. But we have Sawyer here. Come sit in the chair, please, Sawyer, that you fell in. So Sawyer fell back in the chair earlier that none of us want to sit in, but
wow, I'm really glad you had to mention that on the air. Yeah, these chairs at the station, I'm telling you, they're not reliable, and I have a really bad habit of leaning back, and I had to pull a Titanic, and the glacier hit me.
So we are here now. We're going to switch to basketball. First of all, FAU hoops. Tell us about how they did in the pool.
Oh, they're doing big things. Right now they're 2-1. They just took a tough overtime loss at ODU a few days ago. It was honestly it was a pretty good loss, I have to say. They were down a bunch, like with 10 minutes left in the game. They battled back. Their defense was so impressive. Went to overtime. They were hitting some really ridiculous shots. Their guy Curry was shooting it like Steph Curry. I forget his first name, but his first name was Steph that night because I think he had a career high. But they have one game left, and that's against Marshall, and I believe that's tomorrow.
Oh
so
boy!
If we win that one, then we're 3-1 in Pod B of Conference USA play, and that means that we could potentially lock down that 6 seed. Last year we were the 9 seed. We had opened up against 8-seeded Louisiana Tech. We lost by 1, and it was heartbreaking. It was gut-wrenching. If we're the 6th seed this year, that means we're going to open up against the 11 seed, which obviously is a massive skill gap. That's going to be one of these guys in the middle of Pod C. That's going to be the likes of, like UTSA or Charlotte or – no. So Old Dominion's in our pod. Oh, so in our pod, it's ODU, Marshall, UTSA, and who's the last one? UAB.
Okay.
We beat UAB at home, and then we beat UTSA at home.
Right.
So being the 6th seed is massive. That can get us some momentum, and then who knows what can happen. This team, they don't get a lot of credit. Conference USA overall is pretty evenly distributed, I would say, outside of North Texas and Louisiana Tech. But other than that, it's all up for grabs. FAU's got a good chance. They're a really good defensive team. I know we want to talk about NBA. I can talk FAU basketball all day long. I'm very excited. This game is definitely a must-win. This game is a must-win.
Absolutely, and it's just great to see that improvement from last year. May is coming in, and he's improving this squad from year one, and it's great to see. So yes, we do have to talk about the NBA very quickly. So I guess since we have 9 minutes left in the show, let's just focus on that Heat game against Milwaukee last night. So a lot of people are saying, and we got Heat fans here and everything like that. Now, I really love that win by the Heat last night. I'm not going to lie, it's a good win. But I think people are overhyping it a little bit. 7-game series, you get in with the Milwaukee Bucks, it's over. You're not going to win the 7-game series. That's not the. Now I understand that's not the point that Heat fans are trying to make. Mm-hmm. They're trying to say we match up the best against the Bucks. You know, we have the best guys to defend Giannis. We have Iguodala. We have how do you say Olenek?
Olynyk. Why did he never trying to say his name?
I always forget how to say his name. So Olynyk, Myers-Leonard. So they have some height. They have some good defensive players that can defend Giannis. I get it. They have a lot of three-point shooters. They didn't have Tyler Hero last night, and they still shot 50% from three. I get it. My point is, this team has not played together in the playoffs. I like a team to go through 1 year playing together. Next year, if they're playing the Bucks and the Bucks are the same team, I might even pick the Heat to win a 7-game series. I'm just saying this year with the way they're playing, the Bucks have 9 losses all year. 2 of them are to the Heat. I get it. I just think Bucks are going to clearly win that series. I'd say in 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start, and then we'll hand it off to you, CJ. So I think by far, I've been saying this all year, fully healthy, especially after trade deadline, the Miami Heat are the second best team in the East.
Right.
The gap between Milwaukee and that second team is very, very large, and then it's just up for grabs. 3, 4, 5, 6. You go down the line.
Yeah. I like Boston though. What are your thoughts on Boston?
Boston is a very, very good team, but like I said, it's just who can beat Milwaukee. And right now with Miami's defensive roster, they got Jay Crowder, they got Myers-Leonard, they have Bam, they have Jimmy Butler, they have all these big, hefty, strong bodies that they can throw at Giannis. Nobody in the league can guard Giannis one-on-one, but you can slow him down with really, really good team defense, and that's what Miami did. 6 of 18 for Giannis and 13 points, a season low is not good at all. And their playoff time, Milwaukee's going to be a totally different team. Playoff time, everybody's a totally different team. But this is where you start to play your best basketball. People are blowing up that the Heat are 2-0 against the Bucks. I don't look at that. It was the second game of the season they beat the Bucks. The teams were different. Everybody plays different the first 10 games.
Yeah.
There were a lot of rookies and a lot of really standout players through the first 10 games that you haven't heard from since. So I don't look at that. That's just first 10, 15 games hype. That's just hype about the season. But can you grind that out for 82 games? That's the question. Fully healthy, Miami's the best team. They got to be careful, though, because the Indiana Pacers are right behind them in that 5 spot. And
I've liked them all year.
Yeah,
and with Depot
the Pacers
back.
They've got one of the best coaches in the league. He's been doing it year after year, Nate McMillan. And Philly, I've ranted about them plenty. I really hope they stay locked in at 6, and I hope Boston stays at 3, so the Celtics can absolutely put the Sixers in their place.
Please.
Healthy
and then they can
or
finally
not,
trade Ben Simmons.
I really want to see the Sixers make front office moves. I've been saying it for a while. I honestly think you trade Embiid. That is not a popular opinion.
You know what? I could agree with you on that because Embiid gets injured more. Sorry, he's a big guy that gets injured, and that's not going to play well over time.
And imagine just how much you can get for Embiid. I feel like you can get a lot more for Embiid than you can for Simmons.
Yeah.
It starts with Brett Brown. Brett Brown has got to go. But anyway, sticking with Miami, we haven't even talked about Iguodala. Iguodala he's made for the playoffs. So I'm very excited to see what happens. But Milwaukee in the playoffs and Giannis in the playoffs, it's going to be night and day. And this team is going to play him in 2 weeks at the Forum, at the Mean Streets. They're going to play this team again. I see Giannis going for 50 and 25. He wants to go for a statement that game. He's definitely
when you get Giannis mad, he
responds.
responds.
Hey, you are not better than us.
I don't know. I don't think anyone's posting a 50-25 on the Heat.
He got 40 and 20
I don't think 50
against the Heat. No, I agree with that. But he's definitely gonna not go 6 of 18 again. And Jake, you mentioned it before the show. Milwaukee's not going to shoot 20%.
No,
again.
that's another thing.
They're an exceptional 3-point shooting team. That's going to be totally different. That was one of those nights.
But the Heat didn't have Tyler Hero in this last game, and now they're going to go if they were to match up with the Bucks in the playoffs, and they'd have to play the Bucks.
What makes that big of a difference?
Yeah, but Hero he's still averaging I think 12 or 14 points a game. My opinion, the Bucks are the best team in the league. In my opinion. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's
52 and 9. They're a really well-ran organization. They've got all the pieces around Giannis to be competitive for a long time. I like the Bucks. Okay. If the Heat were to play the Bucks in finals, whatever it may be, I like the Heat to get it to at the very least 6 games. Because here's why.
I could see it.
I think that's probably second only to Philly
second only to Milwaukee.
And with one
sorry,
fluke
that's
loss to
third.
Atlanta.
Philly
you know?
has the best home
Philly's
record
at
in the NBA.
28-2.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's 27-3, and then the Heat are 26-4.
How explain? By the way, explain this. I
Pickling Jimmy Butler, Andre Iguodala, Crowder, and then having a Myers Leonard down low and I like
all that sounds really, really good defensively, but at the end of the day, it is Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I just don't know if they can.
And again, it's
contain
more
him
than just Giannis
for
too.
7
I mean,
games.
Ilyasova,
when
Korver.
he was so close last year, I just don't know if Giannis is just going to let Miami defend him. And obviously they're going to have home court, and they play exceptional at home as well. I think
that's why I feel
I
the
think
series
it's going to
is
be
more
similar
even than people give it credit.
I agree with that. I think it's similar to the game last night. I think it's come down to the three. That's today's league. It's going to come down to who's hot, and I mean, you have to favor the Bucks. You have to.
Yep, and it's more than just Giannis too. I mean, people forget that there's Ilyasova, there's Korver, there's the Lopez
Chris
brothers,
Middleton,
there's Chris
all-star.
Middleton.
No,
So
I think
they're
the
low.
Bucks are
George
the
Hill,
clear-cut
Bledsoe.
best team, and I would
Oh, yeah.
never, I would never sit here and expect the Miami Heat to win the series. I think I would expect them to be very competitive.
Yeah.
But the Milwaukee Bucks, very well coached, best ran organization, got a lot of pieces.
Best
and right
ran
now,
organization?
One of them. I mean, they're up there. So we're
Absolutely.
running
The
out of time
best.
here, but
do you see
The number one best ran organization.
Do you see
I
the
don't know about
deals?
that.
Do you see the deals that they've got?
All right,
on
we're
these
running
Bucks
out of time.
players
We're
who
at 5 o'clock.
Exceeded their contract. Exceeded their contract
I agree,
talents.
but I don't know
and
about the
limits.
best run organization in the NBA.
Oof, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. They had a debate on this on ESPN and Fox Sports as to who the best organizations were. I forget which the shows were, and consensus with the Milwaukee Bucks solely off the fact that these contracts are very cheap. They've all outplayed their contracts already within 2 years of them being there, and they got these guys cheap. That's good business. That's a good ran organization, and they're 52-9.
I mean, the best record in the NBA does not mean you have the best thing. I would honestly look at maybe Denver. I think Denver does a great job organizational-wise. They've obviously been the 2 seed the last 2 years.
Yeah, but
last
wouldn't
thing
you
I'll
say
say,
that? But the
'cause I know
Bucks
we
would be
gotta
the
go.
1 seed 2 years in a row.
That's true, but they're in the East. I feel like being the 2 seed in the West is a lot more impressive than being the 1 seed
Yeah,
in the East.
but really quick, the Miami Heat are 39 wins here.
Yeah.
As a 4 seed.
Yep.
And in the West, the 4 seed is Houston
Utah.
at 39 wins.
Yeah.
So
mean,
it's it's
yes.
very.
So that's this year, but
but you just proved my point. So 39 wins is the 4 seed. 39 wins in the East is the 2 seed. You just proved my point that it's harder to be a seed.
42 wins is the 2 seed in the East. 30. What I'm saying is they're very similar.
Oh, yeah, they're very similar.
The number 2 seed has 42 wins in the East.
Oh, okay.
And the 2 seed in the West is 41. They're way more equal divisions. I'm just saying, Milwaukee Bucks at the very least top 3 best ran organization right now. Anyway, I think the Heat would be very competitive.
Last thing I'll say, Jacob, then I'll get out of your hair. If the Denver Nuggets, if they hold on the 2 seed and Oklahoma City, because I think the Clippers are going to overtake the Nuggets as the 2 seed, and Denver's going to slide to 3. If OKC can lock down that 6th spot, they will beat the Nuggets in the first round.
wow.
I
Well,
guarantee
it could happen. It
I
could happen
guarantee
for
it.
sure.
If you look at the Spurs team last year, pushing them to 7, they have the exact same team. I think this Oklahoma City Thunder team is by far better than that Spurs team last year. Denver's been inconsistent for me all year. I feel like you let Jokic score all he wants. If you can just contain the streakiness of Murray and just play good, hard defense, which OKC has done, I think Adams can give Jokic headaches down low. So I would pick them.
For sure. And before we wrap it up here, and thank you so much, Sawyer, for coming on Nonstop Sports. Are you doing a show tomorrow, or are you going to New York?
I'm doing a show tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm going to New York next week.
That's next week.
Tomorrow, my show is Nonstop Sports with Sawyer Stultz from 4 to 5 every Wednesday on FAU Radio, and my Twitter is at Sawyer Stultz. So there you go. Thanks for having me, Jacob. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. So we're
you
going to
next
wrap it
week.
up here with one little quick baseball news. So Christian Yelich in baseball just signed a huge extension. I don't have the term, but he signed a $215 million deal. And, Steven, you can comment on this too, but I think he took a pay cut. I respect him for it, but Trout is getting paid $400-something million, and Yelich is right there with him as one of the best players in baseball, and he's getting paid half the money to stay in Milwaukee.
Yep.
I mean, they're not going to win in Milwaukee. Milwaukee doesn't have money, and now they're paying.
To build a team, exactly. I mean, I think taking a pay cut there, if you're going to stay there, take as much money as you can, live out your career there. But
Is he really trying to win?
You don't know what they got in the pipeline,
Yeah.
though. They might have had some plans and said, hey, Christian, you take this a little less than what you might have wanted.
Yeah.
And we've got a plan of, A, re-signing, blah, 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 or going after whoever.
I mean, I respect it. I mean, you know what? That should show Giannis to stay in Milwaukee, to be honest with you.
This is good karma. To take a pay cut, that's good karma.
Yeah.
Good things follow taking a pay cut.
For sure. And
I mean, he's still making $250 million.
Yep,
so.
Steven.
Got one thing. Prediction for tonight. I got FAU 7-6.
Okay. FAU 7-6 win. We'll hold you to that, Steven. All right?
Yeah.
So we'll be back next Tuesday, 4 to 5. Also, Yankees, stay healthy.
Exactly.
Stanton, stop working out like a football player. Get out of here. We'll see you next Tuesday.